welcome to the Two New Mexico Real Estate Ladies. Today we are answering a question that has come up quite often. Okay, it is, can I legally build my own house? So the short answer is yes, but there are more details to it than that, okay? You can legally build your own house for your own primary residence. Number one, that is the number one thing. If they find out that you are building it and you do not live in it for 2 years, you risk never being given a permit to build a house for yourself again, okay? You still have to obtain all the permits, all the inspections, all the re-inspections. If you don't pass the first time, all of those things are the same. They don't let you get away with doing anything less just because you're building your own house. But you do have the right to basically function as your own general contractor, okay? Plumbing, electrical, and HVAC have to all still be done by a licensed contractor. And the site prep, we talked about this in a different video, but even the site prep, you can do it yourself, but you will have to take a test on site preparation and all that kind of stuff.
From the same organization.
From the same organization.
Construction industry.
So all of the information that I'm going to reference, we will reference in this video, are going to be found on the New Mexico Regs and Licensing Department online within the Construction Industries Department or Development, CID, okay, for short, Construction Industries Division. And just so you know, this is 5 pages of lots of construction legal stuff that we kind of went through, and we have experience and know contractors who go through all these hoops as well.
So getting this permit allows you to be able to build your own house. Only if you're going to live in it. You still have to have zoning approval, and the local planning and zoning department needs to be involved. If you live in an area that does not have zoning, such as the county of Socorro, I understand, has no zoning.
No zoning whatsoever.
Then you still have to go to a CID office. There are several throughout the state. So the closest one to where you are is where you would go, and still have to have the right stuff to be able to do what you're trying to do. If you are going to hire employees to do this with you, if you're not going to do everything yourself, then they are exactly that, employees, and you have to pay their taxes and take out Social Security and have workman's comp for these people.
Workman's comp is the big deal when it comes to bringing anybody onto your construction site.
Yes. So if you contract out any of the work, that contractor has to be licensed because they have to pull permits. I know that there are people who think, well, I could do all this stuff myself. I know how to do plumbing and I know how to do electrical, and that's a wonderful thing. But if you do it and you don't have a permit, or you don't have a contractor's license, then you can't pull a permit for that stuff. And
so there's 2 different things that you need to have. You need to have a contractor's license as an electrician or a plumber or an HVAC or whatever the skill is that they're requiring the permit for. And you have to have the journeyman's license for each one of those different things. The contractor has the ability to pull the permit, and the journeyman portion has the ability to actually do the work.
Right. So if you have a contractor's license, but you don't have a journeyman license, then you have to hire somebody to do the work who is a journeyman. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but them's the rules. And so then if you decide, let's say you get halfway through building this house and you think, oh, this is way more than I expected. I'm just going to hire a general contractor to finish it up. Then your permit becomes void and his takes over. And
so you can't go back and forth.
Right.
You can't throw them out and say, you know what, he was doing an idiot job and because you lost your permit
right
by bringing him in.
Right. it says in their little form, I'm going to read it so that you know exactly what it says. So I should tell you that in this form that you have to fill out to get your homeowner's permit, they have this 2 pages of things that you have to initial.
Like literally.
Say, yes.
2 pages, you have to initial each little spot and sign it, and you're basically swearing that you fully understand all of these different terms, which is kind of crazy. That if you hire somebody who's not a licensed contractor, you have to pay them an hourly wage that includes taxes and workers' comp as legal requirements. All of this, you have to swear. So it's kind of interesting how they do it. It's a great opportunity, but understand all the details.
Yes. And it says that you fully understand that under no circumstances can I perform HVAC, natural gas, or liquid propane gas under my homeowner's permit, that I must hire appropriately licensed subcontractors to perform such work by obtaining their own permits. So those are things that unless you have a contractor's license and you are an HVAC, natural gas, liquid propane contractor and a journeyman for all those things, then you can do it yourself. But other than that, you have to hire somebody. And
So the other thing to keep in mind is, don't forget, if you do decide to bring in a general contractor, a GB2 or a GB98, that voids your permit.
Right.
That voids your right to continue to function as the main contractor on your personal residence construction.
And no matter how you do it, you're still required to get all of the permits and inspections and re-inspections and whatever else needs to be done, because you could go out there and you could build it yourself and not have any inspections and not have anybody come out and look at it. But if you decide at some point that you want to sell that house, then they're going to come out and look at it then. And let me tell you that after the fact is not a good time to get an inspection done, because they'll make you tear apart walls, and they want to go up in the attic and they want to see everything that you have done. And I have gone through that kind of stuff with people who were buying houses because the seller didn't get a permit for something.
Even if it's an addition. Okay? Yes. I've seen it where if there's no permit, if you weren't able to hold on to all the paperwork, or the seller, let's say it went back to the bank and there was a major addition done, the city doesn't keep those records. At least they didn't. So if it happened 20 years ago and it's obvious that they pulled a permit to do it, but the city doesn't have those records, you're stuck in between a rock and a hard place trying to prove to the lender that it was a legally existing building, and you're kind of working backwards.
And worst case scenario, they can make you tear the whole thing down. Because I have been involved with situations where a homeowner had to tear off a back room that was a patio at one time, and it was converted into part of the house because the foundation was not thick enough. And they had to tear down the whole thing. They had to tear it all off before they could sell the house. So check your paperwork, make sure you do it right from the beginning. Yes. Because you don't want to have that foundation poured, frame going up, and all of a sudden you realize that some inspection got missed partway through. You have to stop and you have to start digging and trenching. I've seen it where people purchased a home that had an addition, no problem. Something came up and the city came out and they said, we don't have any record of this. Where are your records? And they're like, it was here when we bought it. What are you talking about? And they had to jackhammer into the exterior of that addition to try and show them and pull away portions that the footing was done properly 30 years ago. Right. So tricky stuff. Yes. Thank you for watching and our episode on can you build your own home legally? And yes, you can. Subscribe and like us.